Good afternoon, future educators. Let me introduce myself first. I am Jalaica Pekinlove and I am with Rica G. Tinaco and Jesus Rizimolo, and we are the Group-6 reporters. So today, I'll be starting my report by sharing something that might feel familiar to all of us. So have we encountered the same topic at different stages in our education? Okay, think of a topic that you studied in elementary years and you studied it again in high school, and probably you had that same topic again in college. So let's take the example of Dr. Jose Rizal. So back in elementary school, we might have been introduced to Rizal through simple facts, his pictures and postcards, the knowledge that he is our national hero and that he was born in June 1861 in Calamba, Laguna. So we studied first in basic. Then in high school, we move a little deeper, like we read his novels, the Nolo Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, and talk about their themes, their significance, and how they reflected the society of his time. So by the time we reach in college, the discussion becomes even more complex. Now we start analyzing his works in the context of the historical, personal, and social forces that shape his thoughts. So we explore not just what he wrote, but why and what it tells us about the world he lived in. We may even write research or term papers exploring these ideas. So, this gradual deepening of understanding is actually an example of learning theory by Jerome Bruner. So, our topic for today is all about Bruner's constructivist theory. First, let us know who is Jerome Bruner. So, Jerome Seymour Bruner is regarded as one of the most influential and renowned educational psychologists of the 20th century. So, he developed the constructivist theory, which suggests that learners construct new knowledge based on their previous knowledge. So in 1966, he researched the cognitive development of children and identified three stages of representation, namely the inactive stage, the iconic stage, and the symbolic representation stage. So he believed that the intellectual development of an individual should be the primary goal of education instead of rote memorization. So Bruner's constructivist theory has three main concepts, which is the representations, the spiral curriculum, and discovery learning. So Bruners believe that learning is an active process. That means learning don't just absorb information passively. Instead, we actively build new ideas based on our current knowledge and our past experiences. So when we learn something new, we try to make sense of it using what we already know. So let me break down one of the key parts of Bruner's theory. So which is how we represent knowledge. He said there are three stages or modes of representation that show how we develop understanding as we grow. So first is an active representation. So this is the first stage common in a very young children. So at this point, learning happens through actions and physical experiences. So example of an active representation, a child learns what a ball is by actually touching it, rolling it, or throwing it. So they understand the world by doing. So the next one is the iconic representation. So as the child grows, they start to learn using images and visual models. So instead of needing the actual object, they can now understand by looking at the pictures, drawings, or diagrams. So for example, instead of playing with a real ball, they can look at a picture and recognize it as a ball. So, and the third stage is a symbolic representation. So this is the most advanced stage. So learners can think in abstract terms. So they use symbols like language and numbers to represent knowledge. So for instance, they don't need pictures or real objects anymore. So they can talk or write about a concept or solve math problems using numbers. So these three stages show how our thinking evolves from doing to seeing and to thinking abstractly. So now, another major of idea from Bruner is the spiral curriculum. So Bruner believed that education should help boost a student's cognitive development. To do that, he suggested that we structure information in a way that makes complex ideas simple at first and then go back to them at the deeper levels as students grow. So this is what we call spiral curriculum. So going back to our example, which is the Dr. Jose Rizal. So in elementary school, we might learn that he is our national hero and where he was born. In high school, we study his novels like Nolo Me Tangere and Filibusterismo. And in college, we go deeper, we analyze the historical context, his ideologies, and how his works affected society. So, same topic, but each time it's thought based on our level of understanding. So, in a spiral curriculum, teachers don't just teach something once and move on. They revisit topics again and again, each time adding more depth and complexity depending on where the students are developmentally. In Spiral Curriculum, Bruner has three principles of instruction. So the first one is the readiness. So teach when the student is ready. So start with what they already know and make learning interesting. The second one is the spiral organization, or you have to teach in small steps. So you have to start in simple, then go deeper little by little. And then the third one is going beyond, or you have to help students think for themselves. So not just memorize. So let them explore and find answer. So I think that would be all my part. Thank you for listening, and once again, good afternoon.
Hello again, my name is Rika G. Tinako, the next reporter. So now we will be talking about discovery learning. So discovery learning refers to obtaining knowledge for oneself. Bruner 1966 states that a theory of instructions should address four major aspects. So discovery learning in Bruner 1966 emphasized that students learn best when they discover concepts on their own through guided exploration. So instead of just listening and memorizing, learners build their own understanding with the help of meaningful experiences. So Bruner identified the four major aspects of instruction. So the first one is the predisposition to learn. So Bruner's theory emphasizes a child's readiness for learning, suggesting any subject can be taught effectively by aligning instruction with cognitive abilities. Motivation, culture, and personal factors heavily influenced by early teachers and parents contribute to a love of learning. He believed that learning and problem solving emerge out of exploration. So, readiness to learn. Learning should match the student's cognitive level and motivation. So, Bruner believed any subject can be taught to any child if presented in a developmentally appropriate way. So, learning is influenced by a child's curiosity, motivation, and environment, especially in early years. So, for example, in a grade 2 class, the teacher introduces basic multiplication not with formulas but with real-life items like groups of apples. Instead of saying 2 is multiplied by 3 is equals to 6, the teacher gives students two trays with 3 apples each and asks, how many apples do we have altogether? So this taps into their readiness. Young children understand grouping by using physical objects. They learn through play and experience, making it more meaningful and memorable. So now, let's go for the second aspects of instruction, which is the structure of knowledge. So this refers to the ways in which a body of knowledge can be structured so that it can be most readily grasped by the learner. So there are three for the structure of knowledge. So first we have the understanding the fundamental structure of a subject makes it more comprehensible. So B, to generate knowledge, which is transferable to other contexts. Fundamental principle or pattern are best suited. C, the discrepancy between beginning and advanced knowledge in a subject area is diminished when instruction centers on a structure and principle of orientation. So, structure of knowledge, organize information so learners can easily grasp and apply it. So, students learn better when they see big ideas instead of isolated facts. Bruner suggested that core principles and patterns help with understanding and transfer to new situations. So, for example, in science class, instead of memorizing random animal facts, students group animals by features, mammals, reptiles, etc. So the teacher helps them discover that mammals have hair and give birth to live young. So they're not just memorizing it; they are learning a structure or pattern they can apply to other animals. So when they see a bat or a dolphin, they can figure out where it belongs based on the structure they learn. So for the third one, the effective sequencing. So no one sequencing will fit every learner, but in general, the lesson can be presented in increasing difficulty. So it presents lessons in a logical order, usually from simple to complex. So there is no single correct way to sequence lessons, but generally, students should start with simple concepts and build up to more advanced ones. So for example, in a math class, the teacher first teaches addition with small numbers using blocks. Later, students move to vertical addition with carrying. So by starting with concrete and moving to abstract, students develop a deeper understanding. So it is easier for them to follow along and build confidence. So for the last one, the fourth one, the reinforcement. So rewards and punishment should be selected and paced appropriately. So use rewards wisely. Focus on making learning enjoyable and meaningful. So while rewards and punishments have their place, Bruner believed the best motivation comes from a genuine interest in the subject. So again, example for the reinforcement in a language class. So instead of giving candy for every correct answer, the teacher lets students create and perform their own short play using new vocabulary. So students are motivated by creativity and self-expression, not just external rewards. So this leads to deeper engagement and enjoy in learning. So discovery learning allows students to explore and make sense of the world. Bruner's 4 principles, the readiness, structure, sequencing, and reinforcement, help teachers guide students to think deeply and learn meaningfully. So that's all for my part. Again, my name is Rika G. Tinaco. Thank you.
Now, let's move on to categorization. By the way, I'm Jesus Simulo and this is my part. So, categorization is the process of grouping objects, ideas, or concepts based on shared attributes or features. It involves creating mental rules to organize and understand the world. Like, for example, apples, bananas, oranges are categorized based on their shared attributes like being edible, growing in trees, or plants. These shared attributes allow us to group apples, bananas, and oranges into category of fruits, which helps us understand their characteristics, uses, and benefits. Bruner gave much attention to categorization of information in the construction of internal cognitive maps because he believed that perception, conceptualization, learning, decision-making, and making inferences all involve categorization. Categories are rules that specify 4 things about objects. The first rule is criterial attributes, required characteristic for inclusion of an object in a category. So these are the essential characteristics that define the category and determine whether an object belongs to it. So example, for a category like chair, attributes might include having legs, a backrest, and being designed for sitting. So these attributes helps distinguish chairs from other types of furniture, such as tables or beds. If an object has these criterial attributes, it is likely to be classified as chair. So by identifying the criterial attributes of a category, we can better understand what defines it and make more accurate classifications. The second rule is combining attributes. So prescribes how the criterial attributes are combined. So here in the second rule, we will going to combine all the criterial attributes to classify an object. Example, a chair has a legs and a backrest. So this means that an object must have both legs and a backrest to be classified as a chair. This means that having just one of these attributes is not enough. The object must possess all the required attributes, which is the legs and backrest, to be considered a chair. These combination rules help refine the classification process and ensure that objects are accurately categorized. The third rule is weight assignment. So it involves assigning importance or weights to various properties or attributes when evaluating or categorizing something. So for example, evaluating a restaurant. Food quality 40%, service 30%, ambience 20%, and price is 10%. So the food quality is considered most important, accounting for 40% of the overall rating. Next is the service. It's the second most important attribute, accounting for 30% of the overall rating. Next is ambience, moderately important, accounting for 20% of the overall rating. And the price is the least important attribute, accounting for 10% of the overall rating. These weights reflect the relative importance of each attribute in determining the overall rating of the restaurant. By assigning weights to various properties, we can create a more comprehensive and accurate evaluation or categorization system. So the last rule or the fourth rule is acceptance limits. So it refers to the specific range or boundaries within which an attribute must fall to be considered acceptable or valid. This rule helps to find the acceptable variation for each attribute. So example there, as you can see, the attribute is temperature and the acceptance limit is 35 to 45 degrees Celsius for hot temperature. And the interpretations, temperatures within this range, 35 to 45 degrees Celsius, are considered hot, and temperatures outside this range would not be considered hot. By setting acceptance limits, we can ensure that attributes fall within a specific range, enabling more accurate classification and decision making. Now let's move on to the several kinds of categories. So the first one is the identity categories. So it groups the objects or concepts based on their shared attributes or features. So these categories are defined by the common characteristics that members possesses. So as you can see in the example, the category is the dogs, and the members are the golden retrievers, poodles, and bulldogs. And their shared attributes are being mammals, having 4 legs, and barking. These attributes define the category dogs and determine which objects belongs to it. The members of this category, which are the golden retrievers, poodles, and bulldogs, all possesses the defining attributes, making them part of the dogs category. The second category is equivalent categories. So it groups objects or concepts based on shared criteria, which can be affective criteria, means grouping based on emotional reactions or feelings, such as enjoyment or pleasure, or functional criteria, which means grouping based on related functions or purposes. So our example there is entertainment. So the category is the entertainment, members is the movies, books, and video games, and the criteria is affective criteria, which is providing enjoyment. So in this example, movies, books, and video games are grouped together because they all provide enjoyment or entertainment value. This category is based on the shared emotional response or experience of pleasure that these objects provide. So our last categories is the coding systems. So these are the hierarchical arrangements of related categories that help organize and recognize information. They enable us to structure knowledge, make inferences, and retrieve information efficiently. So our example there is library organization. So from fiction to genre to author to title. So the hierarchy is the fiction to genre to author to title. And related categories is the fiction is the broad category, and genre is the subset of the fiction, and the author is the subset of the genre, and the title is the subset of the author. So these coding systems allows for efficient organization and retrieval of books in a library. By using coding systems, we can create structured and meaningful frameworks for organizing and retrieving information. So I think that's all for my part. Thank you for paying attention, and I hope you learned something. So again, thank you and have a nice day.